Welcome. These will be my thoughts on Season 2, Episode 3 of Fear the Walking Dead, Ouroboros. The episode is rated CVMA, so will this video be? There will be spoilers for everything live-action Walking Dead franchise leading up to and including this episode, and another episode that I absolutely loved. So, since it is Pride Month, I'm trying to either do Pride readings of what I do videos on, and in the case like this, where there's not that much to read into, I try to recommend a YouTube video by a member of the LGBTQIA+ community. And yeah, Alexandra Avila did a fantastic video. So I'm gonna read most of the title, but there's one word in there that, while, as someone who is not a member of the community, I don't feel comfortable using that exact, but I'll say enough that you can find the video by searching for it. So, Alexandra Avila did a video called Looks Maxing and the Rise of Male-to-Male Trans. Yes, let's go with that. And yeah, I think this one is probably going to be pretty much chronological. I don't really have much sort of general, I guess, a general thing, yeah, they are continuing to deliver on this thing of, like, they can make the boat thing work. Maybe I bring that up too much. It's just, I remember seeing, like, a non-zero number of user reviews where they were like, it doesn't even work because they're on a boat, and I don't know, maybe something happens later on, but so far, I really do think it works. Very, very clever, this thing of, like, yeah, they have to spend or Travis has to spend all day fixing the filtration because there was a water walker. Well, I guess walker swimmer. But yeah, I mean, if he walked on water, he would drown, which I guess might explain why he's a zombie. But yeah, he was in there, and now I have to deal with that. And there's an island right there. I understand the apprehension of Travis and Madison, but I do agree that they gotta try to make up for this time. That there's nothing that they can do on the boat that's going to be of any value to anyone. So yeah, and let's see. I get right. Yeah, the opening was very effective, and I guess I will briefly note, I do hope that doesn't become too much of a pattern, because this is 2 episodes in a row where we meet new characters at the very start of an episode, and then by the end, it seems like, I mean, I guess I don't know for sure if it's the last we ever see of them, but they definitely are not, you know, yeah, that something sad happens with them. Let's go with that. And I don't mind that it happens more than once, but 2 episodes in a row feels like a little bit of a lot. And yeah, the way that we see over time, yeah, there's the thing about um, one of them they take out, and then another tries to take out Jake, and she kills him to protect Jake, and then yeah, not by the time by the time our survivors find them, it's just her and Jake, and by the end of the episode, I mean, they got some food and water, but that seems to be it. They are just floating out there in the middle of nowhere. I mean, in some ways, it's almost worse than being on the island, because maybe they could have found a way. Maybe part of it could have been safe from the walkers, and they could have, but out on the water, that water, the drinkable water, I mean, is not going to last, and yeah, they are fucked at that point. If the 50 cal wielding boat doesn't find them first. Anyway, I think that does bring us nicely to the Yeah, so we have, Daniel tells Maddie about Baja, and, points out that the conversation probably would not end well if he was participating in it, so it's going to have to be her. And I really like the fact that while most of them call him Strand, she, when addressing him, at least some of the time, will call him Victor. Sorry. Fuck. Sorry. There's a fly in here. There's, it's hot at this time of year. Yes, even in Denmark. And, had to air out. Now there's a fucking fly in here, so apologies. I mean, in its defense, I'm sure it's as confused as, or it is confused because it's trying to find its fucking way out. But, yeah, I don't know. I think I'll probably try to open a window and see if it can't fly out as soon as I've recorded this. Didn't know it was here. Sorry about that. Hope it won't be too fucking distracting. Anyway, yes, I believe that brings us nicely to the, yeah, and he did actually tell her what appears to be the truth. Like, it certainly sounds credible. And I like that he knew, he's like, so who has been in my business? Because he knows it's not her. And he knows, he immediately deduces it's Daniel. And she talks to Travis. Actually, come to think of it, I think that's after the rest of them leave, because Daniel, it was great, the bit with, they're all, all the youngins are talking about leaving, getting on that island. And both Travis and Maddie say no. And then, and they keep saying they're not asking permission. And Daniel says, I'll keep an eye on them. Because, and the teens don't protest because they're like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like, it's just they resent being treated as if they can't make their own decisions. They don't like this thing of like, you have to ask permission kind of. But like the idea of, oh, yeah, sure, there's going to be an adult who's good with a gun on the island and might be full of zombies, sure, whatever. And, yeah, you know, obviously the main reason he is there is to find, you know, yeah, Ophelia needs not a nunnery, but a antibiotics. Yeah, what's it? She needs antibiotics. And let's see. Yeah, he. I also appreciate the detail that she says she's busy, and he just opens the door still. Some parents are like that. And he notes that she's warm, and I'm thinking he doesn't mean emotionally. No, seriously though, that is definitely a fucking problem. That does suggest infection, and let's see, and the thing about we have to be self-reliant, um, and let's see, I think that brings us nicely to the and her asking for if you can find some clothes, but please not, what was it, geriatric chic. And so they go over there and pretty quickly start splitting up because they don't realize they're in a horror story. And it was genuinely, my God, when Chris found that fucking downed plane, like immediately we knew this is gonna go badly, and he handles himself well with the already infected in there, but of course turns out one of the passengers survived the crash but is too injured. Like, there's nothing they can do for him. And like, as soon as he opened his eyes, like, my first thought was, no fucking way Strand is letting him on the boat, And yeah, like he can't even really move. And he says, "Help me," and he's not asking for water. And so Chris, you know, holds up the makeshift weapon, and at that point, was his name Alan? Because I saw on the end credits, Alan Man on Plane. Certainly the others were zombies. Whatever. Um, yeah, he does not protest. That was what he meant with help. And Chris gets there, but it takes multiple hits, and he is clearly distraught by it, and he does not tell Alicia that she just asks, "Oh, you had to deal with one. You stopped one, something like that." And he just like, yeah, because like yeah, lie of omission maybe, because he doesn't specify that it was a human. Um, but you know, maybe he thinks that's what she meant. No. And yeah, the little moment, I continue to really appreciate the sibling dynamic. Between, the first Nick puts the hat on himself, and then he goes over and just puts it on her, and she doesn't argue, and then he puts on his the other the shirt thing, and yeah, just really they feel like actual siblings. They're trying to find moment of normalcy in all this, and I think that is about the time where we so yeah, Maddie, you know she talks to Strand, and she doesn't seem to fully accept what he says, but then she goes to Travis and expresses that she does believe in it. And we have this thing of, he points out, it sounds like your mind is made up. And yeah, like that is a thing in relationships, and we already knew from earlier episodes, sometimes Travis is a little bit too, like he obviously understands that the difficult choices have to be made, but sometimes he slow walks it a bit, and there's just not room for that now. And I did really appreciate that he backs her up after, because you can see on his face he's like, this is a bad fucking idea, but what the what else are they gonna do? They need a destination. They cannot just float. And yeah, I think that brings us nicely to the yeah. Daniel is looking for pills, and Nick helps out, and yeah, the just once again, the way that the show treats trust, the weight of it, I really appreciate, because there is that moment where, Nick's like, oh, for Ophelia. And Daniel, he doesn't nod immediately. He takes like at least a second, and then he does nod, because it is this thing of like, you need his help, though. You're not going to find what she needs without it. And I think that's when Nick finds the pit of despair. Excuse me. And yeah, he's not quite careful enough, which I understand if that maybe frustrated some viewers. I didn't love it, but I don't know. I thought there was some really cool stuff. Like it might be the coolest Walker we've seen on this show so far. Like obviously, I'm not gonna pretend like it isn't topped by some of the ones on the main show. But yeah, like the crab eating the parts of the torso, and him slipping in and having a fight, and then there's another one, and yeah, very nicely done on, and he uses the trick that we already, as audience members, knew of the, you know, masking the scent with the, yeah, innards of walkers. And that was also really cool. Like, I genuinely was sitting there thinking, I mean, I don't know how they're gonna be able to get to him and find him and get him out of there with all those walkers, but yeah, I mean, that is one of the things, he's been self-reliant for a while, so yeah, he can get himself out of really fucked up situations. And yeah. Right, I think her name is Kate, right? Kate and Jake. So Kate comes running and calls out, "They're coming. Run, they're coming." And then over the horizon, and I'm sitting there thinking, Daniel, it's all well and good you've got the handgun. How many bullets in that thing again? Because I think you're gonna need more than you have. And yeah, like genuinely very effective, because it is the thing of like, I mean, the island is just big enough, just enough of it is out of our view that I can absolutely believe that part of it is completely full of all these walkers. And yeah, some great zombie fighting action as they all bash. And yeah, he does eventually run out of bullets, which I always love when a piece of media where it feels like makes sense for them to run out of bullets, they eventually do. And let's see. Yeah, they managed to get onto the they get the boat moving again, so they can be the rescue, and good detail about the gunshot being heard. Not around the world though. And let's see. I think that does pretty much. Yeah, so they end up getting back on there, and yeah, stranders just immediately, they're not getting on this boat. And my God, the part where he, like, Alicia, he talks to Alicia, and he's like, "I know you're not running on my deck," and she's like, "Seriously?" Just, yeah, that was quite amusing, without like breaking the dark tone. And I guess that does pretty much bring us to the yeah, I also thought they got some great tension out of Travis underwater, because there's blood and, you know, thud, and I think wasn't there also like a suppressed scream or something like that, and yeah, the water gets really nasty looking. I don't mean like the reflecting pool, the White House nasty, bloody, and turns out, you know, there was a walker, and Travis took it out. And yeah, ultimately they do give some supplies to the two, to Kate and Jake, and Kate sitting there trying to find. Also, fantastic subtle acting, like her face as they, as the rope. Like, she is still, it's not nothing, but it's not as much as she hoped, kind of thing. But yeah, she's trying to find a silver lining, and she's like, "This is the worst it's gonna get. From here on, every day is gonna be better. We're gonna get to San Diego, and it's gonna be scorched, but what are you doing with the meat cleaver? Oh shit." And yeah, like genuinely, to my God. And I appreciate that he did it so fast that like there was no way for anyone else to stop him from doing it. And the look on his face as he, we see him contemplating up in the place with the control shit. And yeah, I mean, he already does not like that Maddie knew, and now everyone on the fucking boat knows about the yeah. And I think that might be, yeah, I can also imagine possibly next episode, possibly a few more, but I can imagine this is going to be part of how I already mentioned, I do not think we've, I guess, seen the last sign of, because we certainly haven't seen it itself, but the 50 cal boat. You know, and this could be a way for them to catch up, because there was enough movement for them to find, to you know, show up on radar, but they also stood still for a while. You know, yeah, I can absolutely picture that being, and even if they are not following, maybe they warned someone up ahead or something, you know, so yeah. I guess that does pretty much cover the, did appreciate Daniel saying, I almost lost them, you know, and I think it's Travis who goes, but you didn't. They're here, you know. And yeah, also the way that Strand, you know, so Travis is like, okay, so I have all the plans, the details for this thing on here, but I mean, those are not my forte. I'm used to, you know, it's like cars and their carburetors. I don't know. Is it just me, or does carburetor sound like someone who really can't stand cars and always yells at them? I don't know. Anyway, the yeah, and the thing about like I'm not the help, clearly. And you know, ultimately he doesn't. Perhaps I have been void of certain niceties in the light of the situation, so pretty fucking please clean the car. I mean, fix the boat. And I think that does pretty much, yeah, you know, once again, like, the show delivered something that I, you know, haven't really seen before in the live action, you know, this thing of the island, and there's, you know, this plane that crashed, and all these things they can take from them. And you know, Daniel says it's bad luck, which I have to admit, when I first saw, you know, I thought the reason he didn't keep that, you know, thing was, I mean, it's, I don't know, maybe in Scrabble, maybe he just feels like he doesn't need more lowercase t's. But then later, Nick hands it to Ophelia, so I guess it's a cross, huh? Fair enough. You live and learn. And I think that does pretty much cover the entire episode. Okay, I'm just real quick gonna mentally fast forward through the entire thing and see. So let's see. There, we've got the yeah, no, there's not really more about Strand. Pretty much covered the boat and the let's see. I guess that does. Yeah, that might be pretty much everything. It does really suck for Travis. Like, good job on actually bringing this fucking thing back to life, you know? But yeah, like, at no point does he get a hand that hasn't recently been removed from the rest of the body of a walker.